Okay, evening everybody. Hello and welcome to January's masterclass for meal planning for busy families. I am using some brand new technology, so I am hoping that this is going to work and that I will be able to flip between doing the slides and actually being able to talk to you. So for anybody who hasn't met me yet, doesn't know me, I am Sarah. I am the founder of the blog and online platform A Simple and Contented Life. And I am so happy that you are here joining me for this first live masterclass for 2019 and the first masterclass at all. And just to kick off really and just to say welcome, I am so glad you're here. If you are watching this evening, I'm flitting between my screen and I've got my phone here as well so that I can see who's online. So please do say hello, and it's great that you are joining me. And the aim of these masterclasses really is to dive deep on a particular topic that I know that you as a fellow busy mum are struggling with. And it's my hope that by diving deep into this topic once a month on a different topic each month, is that it will give you the tips and tools and the strategies you need to reduce the overwhelm, to make life less stressful and more enjoyable, and ultimately to be able to take that another step closer to creating a life that you love and a family life that you love. And so each month is going to be a different topic, and this month is all about meal planning and how to get dinner on the table with minimal stress and minimal fuss. And so yeah, fingers crossed this technology is going to work for me. So far so good. It looks like I am here on the phone. So please do say hello if you're watching. Add an emoji, say hi, put a wave in, add comments and hit likes and hearts if you're enjoying what I'm putting here for you. And if you've got any questions, then please do add them in the comments, and I'll try and keep an eye on them as it scrolls through, and hopefully it will tell me when the comments come up and I can try and answer any meal planning questions you've got. Now you might be able to hear I've got a bit of a cold. I've had flu for the last week and just felt absolutely terrible. So my voice might go out on me a couple of times. So I apologise in advance if it does. I have got my water here just in case. And yeah, so let's dive in really. And if you're watching on the replay, please let me know by putting a hashtag replay in the comments. And this live is going to be going for about 30 minutes. And I'm just going to whiz through with you my top tips of the things that I've tried and tested over the years that have helped me to make meal planning less stressful and get dinner on the table with minimal stress and fuss. So hopefully by the end of this 30 minutes, there'll be something on here for you to take away, to implement and to kickstart making family life less stressful or more enjoyable on the meal planning front. So let's see if I can load the slides up for you and we'll dive in. Okay, so a couple of questions then before we get started with meal planning itself and diving into them. So if you are watching, please do say hello, and if you've got any questions then shout and put them in the comments and I will try and answer them for you. But a few questions to ask you. So does meal planning stress you out? Do you find it hard to come up with new ideas of what to cook? And do you wish that you were more organised with your meal planning? Stick a emoji raising your hand in the comments if this is you, because I know exactly how you feel, and if it is you, then you're not alone. Trust me, because I have been there and there is nothing worse, and I have spent so many evenings, more than I care to count, of staring at the cupboards at 5 p.m. wondering what on earth I am going to cook for my boys for dinner. And worrying like, I can't do chili again, I can't do spaghetti again, I did that the other day, what am I going to cook? And so if that's you and you have ever felt like meal planning stresses you out, that you want to get more organised with your meal planning but you have absolutely no idea where to start, then this is the masterclass for you, because I am going to share with you the tips and strategies that I have been following the last 3 or 4 years or so that have made an absolute massive difference to our lives and getting dinner on the table less stressful for us. So stick a hands and emoji in the comments if that's you and that you are looking forward to getting your meal planning sorted once and for all. So tonight then, what are we covering? We are going to be covering how to create meal plans that work for you and your family, how to never run out of ideas of what to cook, and using your pantry and freezer to your advantage, how to always have the ingredients that you need to hand, how to get dinner on the table with minimal stress and fuss, and how to stay organised with your meal planning so that you know exactly what you are going to cook each night. And I'm going to show you my 5 steps for doing this, because there's been a lot of trial and error over the years for me, and I'm trying to get things going with my boys, and I have figured out a few ways that are making dinners less stressful and getting minimal stress and fuss on the table for us, and I want to share them with you of what they are. And like any other human being, I do feel off the bandwagon occasionally, and I'm not always up to speed on my meal planning, but it makes a massive difference. And I used to be that person staring in the cupboards wondering what on earth to make, or just, that's it, there's nothing there, I can't think of anything, let's just order in. But after doing that for so many times, and it costs money to order in and all of that, and you're just stressed and harassed trying to think of what to order, and so I decided enough's enough, it's time to try and get sorted with my meal planning. And so I started trying to do some trial and error of various different things, and this is what I've learned over the years that has really helped me to nail down my meal planning and make family meal times less stressful. And so hopefully some of these will help with you tonight. So, do these sound good? Does the idea of creating a meal plan that works for you and your family, does that sound good? And being able to finally conquer your meal planning? If it is, let me know. Put our hands up in the comments and a yes, and let's dive in. So, now as you know, this is all about a simple and contented life, and I am on a mission to make things and keep things as simple as I possibly can. And because to make your life easier, and because I love a great excuse to create a printable, I have made some for you to download on the meal planning front, and they are the printables that I use, and they keep me on the straight and narrow. So trust me when I say that they are tried and tested, and if they work for me, I know that they will work for you too. And so if you head over to asimpleandcontentedlife.com/meal planning masterclass, you'll find a screen there for you to just pop your email address in, and I will send you straight away all of the printables that go with tonight's masterclass. And as well as getting a copy of the slides, you will also get a copy of all of the printables. And inside that, you'll find a weekly meal planner that has everything in there you need to start working out from Monday to Friday, 7 days a week actually, Monday to Sunday, breakfast, lunch and dinner of all of your meal plans, so that you can track them in one handy place. And then there's also a list of go-to meals and lists of pantry staples, freezer staples, and all kinds of other things that I'll talk about this evening that are in there that are guaranteed to help you stay on track and stay organised with your meal planning, so that you don't feel overwhelmed, and it's there to make things simple. So if you can, head on over and do that, and then you'll also get all of the slides from tonight's show as well, so that you've got the masterclass tonight, so that you'll be able to go back and take notes where you want to. So before we dive in then, really, what is the point of meal planning? Why should we meal plan? What are the benefits of meal planning? For a start, there are so many, and for a starters, you're not left wondering what to cook each night, and you know exactly what you're going to be making, because you just look at your meal plan the morning before you head off to work, before you take the kids to school, and you know exactly what you're going to be cooking that night, and it just takes away that stress and relieves some of that pressure. You're more intentional about what you're going to eat, because you've had time to think about it, you've had time to prepare in advance, and it gives you a chance to really think about the kind of foods that you're going to be eating, because you've given yourself time and you can be more intentional, which means there's more variety as well. So it's no more cooking the same dishes week in, week out. There's no more of that, not spaghetti again, mum, which I used to get from Harrison, my youngest, all the time, because that was all I could think of to cook, and it was quick, and spaghetti bolognese would come out again. So yeah, no more cooking dishes the same nights, week in, week out. Your meals are healthier because you know what's going into them. You've got control over what you're putting in them. You've got control over the portions as well, the portion sizes and what goes in. And then also as well, you can choose the healthier options when you're cooking them. So you have the choice over the fats and oils that you use and all of those kind of things, and not using processed foods, and using fresh fruit, fresh vegetables and all that kind of thing too. So you can make your meals healthier, and you've got the chance to count and control the calories, because you're not opting for drive-through or takeout. And then you'll also ultimately, you spend less on groceries, and your food goes further as well, because you've had chance to plan ahead and make your meals go further, because you're not duplicating and buying things that you've already got in the pantry because you haven't checked before you've gone shopping. And you're not doing those last minute shops as well of trips to the store every single day too, so you're saving money. Because I know what it's like when you just pop in to buy a loaf of bread. That loaf of bread ends up costing you £25 because you picked up and put 10 or 15 other things that you don't want in, or you wouldn't have bought otherwise, into your basket. So it helps to let groceries go and food go further, and you spend less. So there's that one trip to the store. Saves you time and money, and it saves you fuel as well, and you're not dragging your kids to the store too every day after school, which makes life a little bit easier. So I don't know about you, if I say to Harrison that he's going to the store again, he's like, not again. So yeah, so it does really help with just like saving time and money. You have on hand what you need to cook with as well, because you've stocked your pantry. And when I go through my 5 steps in a moment of the 5 steps that you can take to make your meal planning a breeze, I will show you how to stock your pantry with the right things so that you can make anything that you want to make. And it doesn't matter if your plans change, because you always have something to cook, which means you can just, if you have friends coming over at the last minute, you change your mind, or your plans change, you will always have something to put on and cook for dinner. And ultimately, it means you've got more free time, because if you are not constantly going to the store, and say if you pop into Tesco after school every day for the week and spend half an hour in there, that's an extra 2.5 to 3 hours over the week that you can claw back, because you're not chopping and changing, keep running into the store to grab things, because you've had time to think about what you're planning and what you're cooking, and you have everything in stock. So it saves you from doing that, because shopping is a huge time sucker, and it's one of those things that has to be done, but it drives us nuts, and we know it's got to be done. But if we can claw back some of that time by being a little bit more planned and prepared, it can really, really help. So, okay, let's go into different ways to meal plan then. So there are lots and lots of different ways, and I've tried all of these over the years. But on my 5-step process, which I'll go through with you in a minute, that is the ones that I've found that have worked for me the most. And my favourite has got to be, and the easiest one, is the creating a list of go-to meals. And I'll talk about that in a moment, of how to put that together. But that is just so simple, so quick, so easy, and it really does make life easy when it comes to meal planning. The second one is batch prepping and freezing your meals, but I have to admit that is not my favourite, because that for me just took too much time. And the idea with batch prepping is that you have all of your raw ingredients, you put them into a freezer bag, you freeze them, and then when you are ready to cook dinner the following morning, you take it all out of the bag and dump it in your slow cooker or in the freeze into the oven, and you let it cook slowly. And it just, for me, that didn't work, and there was often meals left in the freezer that we'd prepped and none of us fancied, and they got wasted. So that didn't really work for us. Stocking your pantry and freezer and shopping from there first, that is a really great way, and that's another step in my 5 steps that I'll come on to in a moment. Batch cooking and freezing your meals in portions, that's one that works really well. If you can batch cook things like chili con carne and spaghetti bolognese minus the spaghetti, the shepherd's pie minus the mashed potato, if you can batch cook all of those kind of meals and things that are on your go-to list that you can freeze and into portions, then that's really handy as well, because you can take them out and defrost them, cook them through till they're piping hot, and it's dinner on the table in a flash, and all you've had to do is cook a little bit of pasta or make some mashed potato to go with it. And that can really, really help. The other way of doing it is to cook extra when you're cooking dinner at the time. If you don't have time to set aside to batch cook, like a batch of chili con carne and spaghetti bolognese maybe on a Sunday afternoon, if that doesn't work for you, then next time you're cooking a meal like that you can freeze, cooking extra at the time and doubling up and then freezing it in portions afterwards can really, really help to just make things a little bit less stressful, because then, like doing the batch cooking, you can just pull a meal out in the morning before you go to work, leave it out for defrosting, and then you just cook your spaghetti or your mash or whatever it is you're going to go with it when you get in from work. Now, I have to admit, I have used all kinds of different methods of these, and I've mixed and matched, and depending on what season of life we're in with the kids and things like that as well, we just mix and match. So my suggestion with you to say really is that there is no hard and fast rule of this is the definitive way to meal plan. Pick what works for you and give these all a try and mix and match, and don't be afraid of mixing and matching up, and just going with what works for you. Okay, let's just flip back. a moment. Okay, so that was the quick intro then of all the different types of meal planning that you could do and the right approach, and why it's so beneficial for meal planning. And if you haven't done it before, I hope that tonight, when I go into my 5-step process in a moment, that it's going to really help encourage you to know that meal planning doesn't have to be overwhelming, and it doesn't have to be as time consuming as you might think that it first is, and that just by following the 5-step process that I'm going to share with you now, by doing that, it can make meal planning a lot less stressful and much more enjoyable. And getting dinner on the table can just save you so much time and be able to be free spending more time with your family afterwards. So with that done, let's dive in, and I'm going to share with you now my 5-step process on how to get dinner on the table with minimal stress and fuss. So let's go back to the slides. By the way, if you've got any questions, please do put them in the comments. And if you're enjoying this so far, send me some likes and hearts so that I know that it's good for you. And yeah, so here we go. Let's flick back to the slides and let's talk about my 5-step process. So 5-step process then. This is how I get dinner on the table. This is what I've done over the last few years to perfect it and what works. And like I said at the beginning, sometimes I fall off the bandwagon and we have a few weeks where it doesn't go to plan, or I don't meal plan and prep, and for whatever reason, because I'm only human or I'm tired and all of those kind of things. But when I jump back on this and I do this again, it makes a massive difference. So the first one is creating a list of go-to meals. Once we've done that, we are then clever about how we stock our freezer, and then we stock our pantry with staples. And then step 4 is planning our meals according to what's happening that week. Step 5 is making a note of what we eat each night. So let's look at those in turn and see how they all fit together. So the first one then, step 1 is creating that list of go-to meals. It's my favourite way of staying inspired of what to cook, and it makes life so much less stressful. It takes the hard work out of thinking and coming up with what things you can cook and what to make when. And it's really straightforward. There is a printable in the Printables that you can download if you go to simplycontentedlife.com/meal planning masterclass and download those printables. You will find a sheet in there of our go-to meals, and that is just a running list for you to add. The one that there's in the picture is one that I've included in there that's got some examples of our favourite meals. But you can add your own and just go through all your favourite cookbooks and all your favourite meals and just think about all the things that you like to cook and your family likes to eat, and make a list of them on that list. And then when you come to sit down and write your meal plan each week, you just scroll through and you just pick out all of the meals you fancy making that week. And then if at any time you cook anything new that you really like and that's a hit with the kids, just add it to the list and then you can use it again. And I use this every single week. This comes out and I scroll through and think, right, what shall we make? And it's just a good way of just getting a bit of inspiration when you feel like I can't think of what to cook. So some inspiration for new meal ideas then, a few places for you to check out. Pinterest, of course, is amazing. I love Pinterest and probably spend far too long on there saving all kinds of pins of different meals that I want to make for the boys. But you can save to boards, and you can save by type and course. You can save whether it's chicken, beef, fish, and all of that, and be able to then just pull them out. And another great thing that I love about Pinterest is that I've got a board on there called This Week, and what I do is I go through my recipes of all the things that I want to cook, and I repin them to the This Week board, and then I've got all of them to hand when I come to actually cook my dinner. And then after that I delete the pin and I just start again each week, but it makes it so much easier. So there's that. There's all of your favourite cookbooks, and even going to the library and looking at cookbooks as well can really help. Cooking programs, inspiration from supermarket magazines, and don't forget your favourite restaurant or your takeaway as well, and take inspiration from meals that you like there. One of the meals that my boys love the most is Nando's, and so sometimes we will do a Nando's dinner where we will do the chicken thighs and wedges and just take inspiration from Nando's and create it at home. Ready meals as well. Think of the Marks and Spencer's dine in for 10 and you get the full courses. They're great inspiration of how to do a full 3-course dinner, or what to pair sides with mains and things like that. What were your favourite meals as childhood? What used to lift you up? What meals that Granny used to make that you used to love? And ask your friends as well. Get inspiration from them of what are they cooking. And then my other favourite way of coming up with inspiration for new meal ideas and to make it easy to put your meal plan together is to give each night a theme. And that can just really take the stress out, because if you've got a theme for each night that you can follow, then it just narrows down all of the different choices of what you could come up with to cook, and just makes it that little bit easier. So one of the ones that we tend to do, we'll do a meatless Monday, a taco Tuesday, a slow cooker Wednesday, crockpot Wednesday, leftovers on Thursdays, and fish Friday. And it could just be, fish and veg, or it could be a Thai fish curry. Taco Tuesdays, sometimes it's meat tacos, sometimes it's chicken, sometimes it's fish tacos, and it could be all kinds of things. But just having that on there, and you think, right, okay, it's meatless Monday tonight, so what am I going to make? Let's have a look at the veggie meals. It's just a great way, by giving nights a theme, to come up with things a little bit easier. You could do it by type of food, so you could have Monday chicken, Tuesdays fish, Wednesdays pasta. And then you could also do it by region as well. So you could have Mondays as Italian, Tuesdays as Mexican, Wednesdays as Chinese, and so on. And do them for a month, say, like that, and then switch up and change it. But it's a great way of just varying things a little bit and giving things a theme, and ways of coming up with new ideas of what to cook. So once you've got your list of go-to meals, step 2 is to be clever with your freezer. And it can be really tempting to stock it with all those processed things, like the dinosaur chicken nuggets and all of the pizzas and the pies and all of those kind of things, just because they're quick and easy to make, because you just throw them in the oven. But instead, what if you stocked your freezer with all of your proteins? So if at the beginning of the month you went shopping and you bought your mince, you bought your chicken breasts, you bought your cod fillets, and you bought your frozen peas and your frozen broccoli and all of those things, if you stocked up at the beginning of the month with all of the veg and the proteins that you needed, so that they were there in your freezer ready, you could then each night make pretty much whatever meal you wanted, because it was all in there on hand. And that's exactly what I do now, is I go to the store at the beginning of the month and I will restock my freezer with all of the proteins, and I will try where I can to make everything from scratch, and I will stock the freezer with all of the proteins instead of all the processed foods. And because all of the boxes and the cartons take up lots of space, and I will instead buy the freezer bags, and I will decant everything. So it takes me about half an hour when I get home from shopping, but I will spend that half an hour decanting and putting the mince out of the big packets into the plastic bags so that they're flatter, and taking out all of the things out of the boxes and writing on the labels what all of the food is, so that I know what is in those bags. But it makes so much more room in your freezer, and you can get so much more stuff in. But by stocking it with proteins and vegetables instead of stocking it with all the processed foods, it helps keep things so much more flexible and makes it a lot easier to come up with dinners to create and make. And if your plans change, it doesn't matter. Or if you've got friends coming over at the last minute, it doesn't matter, because you can just switch up and go and grab another pack of chicken thighs out the freezer and you're sorted. So try and be clever with your freezer on how you stock it. Step 3 is stocking your pantry, and that's stocking it with non-perishables and filling it exactly the same principle, that instead of just buying things because they look great on the shelf and think, oh, actually I fancy that, let's put it in the cupboard, and then it stays there. Stock it with the non-perishables that you can actually use then to create all kinds of meals. So think of things like rice, pasta, grains, noodles and pulses, and all the tinned cans and goods like tomatoes and passata and vegetables and beans and soups and coconut milks, because you can make so many different meals from those things. And having a stock cubes and vinegars and oils and herbs and spices all on hand as well, because once you've got all of those, and you grab a can of tomatoes, you grab some mixed herbs and some dried oregano and some onions, either chopped up from the freezer or some onions from the fridge, and your mince from the freezer, you've got a spaghetti bolognese, you've got a chili con carne with an extra can of kidney beans. There is all kinds of different things that you could make just by stocking your pantry and your freezer wisely at the beginning of the week and month before you start thinking about what you're going to make. So step 3 is to stock your pantry with all of the non-perishables. And you'll find in the Printables, if you download those, you'll find the Printables, there is a list of pantry staples where you can record what works for you and what you will buy normally as your pantry staples. And there's a list in there too of my pantry staples to give you an idea to get you started. So step 4 is to plan your meals with your calendar. So you treat your diary as your friend, and instead of just coming up with ideas of what to cook each night but without checking what's going on in the diary, make sure that you set some time aside, and I do mine on a Sunday evening just because that's when it works for me, but set some time aside with your go-to meals list and come up with ideas of what to cook by checking what is in your pantry and in your freezer first, and shop from there first and create your list that way. And if you've got a busy night, then choose something that you know is going to be quick and save the longer meals for the weekend. Be kind to yourself and don't stress yourself out by trying to come up with something and trying something new on a night where you're pushed for time. So go through that go-to list and come up with some ideas of what to cook. See what you've already got in your pantry and freezer, and then write a list for all the things that you need that you haven't yet got. And then when you've written out your meal plan for the week, put it where you can see it, so that it's there in mind in front of you, so that you know what you're cooking each day. Now I've got mine, you'll find the printable for it is in that printable pack if you download it, but mine is actually in an A4 picture frame up on the wall in the kitchen, and I have one of those marker eraser pens that you can write on glass with, and each week I'll sit there and I'll take it off of the wall, I'll write down all of the meals each night that I'm cooking on there, and I'll put it back, and it's constantly there for me to refer to, so that when I go to bed each night I can do a quick glance, or first thing in the morning do a quick glance and see, right, what do I need to get out of the freezer this morning? And it just really makes life so much less stressful. And just remember to keep things flexible as well. When you're setting your meal plan, you don't have to set it in stone. You can have lots of ideas of what you're going to cook, but if you want to chop and change your mind, if you stock your pantry and freezer this way with everything to hand, it doesn't matter if things switch up, and you can change what you're doing. Okay, and then finally, step 5 is to track what you eat. It might seem an extra step, but it makes all the difference. So for me, especially being able to look back at what you've got, because it helps to keep a varied diet. And it's easy to spot when things are getting samey, and it's great for adding new meals to your go-to list as well. And you can use them again and again and again, because your monthly meal plan is done. Once you've done 2 or 3 of these, and you've made a note of what you've cooked each night, you've got 3 or 4 months worth of meals there that you could just duplicate over and over and over again, and it just makes it so much easier. And each time you're fine-tuning and working out what meals work for you and your family. So those are my 5 steps. Let's just come back to the screen so I can see you guys. So yeah, so those are my 5 steps. They're very quick, very easy to do, and it makes so much sense and really makes life so much easier to do that, is to have that list of go-to meals and write down all of the meals that are quick and easy for you guys to cook for your family, that your family love and you know that they are going to eat. And to then stock your freezer sensibly. Use your freezer to your advantage and stock it with all of the proteins, all of the meats and the fish and the mince, the chicken breasts, and all of those things at the beginning of the month, with all of your vegetables as well, so that you've got all of that to hand, rather than filling it with all those quick easy processed foods that you would never get around to using anyway. And then do the same with your pantry staples as well, and have some staples there. And then use your diary. So use your diary, sit down with your diary and your go-to list when you plan your meals each week as well, so that you know that on those nights that you are busy, you are planning it and choosing something that's quick and easy to make to go with that night. And then finally, track your meals as well. So track what you eat to give you some more ideas. So, okay, so those are my 5 steps. A very quick whistle-stop tour, because I don't want to go too far over the 30 minutes for you guys, because I know you all have busy lives. But before I go, I wanted to give you some very quick top tips on how to make food go further and spend less when you go food shopping, how to deal with picky eaters, and what to do when you're pushed for time. So let's dive into those quickly. I'll switch back to the slides. Okay, so my top tips then. Making food go further and how to waste and spend less. So cook extra and freeze those portions for other nights, like I talked about earlier. And then when you do freeze things, you can freeze them for up to 3 months and defrost them the night before you need them. So what I tend to do when I put things away for freezing is I will write on the bag not only what the food is, but I will also put on there 3 months from now, so that I know when I need to use it by. So if I am making a batch of shepherd's pie, for instance, or a curry or something, and I'm freezing it again, I'm freezing it after we've eaten it, then as it being January, I would put February, March, April 2019 on there, so that I know by the end of April that's when I need to eat it by. You can repurpose food the following day for lunches. So if you've got foods left over, quite often for the boys, particularly for our eldest because he goes to work every day, that if I cook chili, I will do a bit of a larger portion, so that the following day he can make chili burritos to take to work for him for his lunches, or with chicken fajitas and mix it into a bit of pasta, so he's got a chicken pasta salad. Things like that. You can repurpose the food the following day. Cooking extra veg with your Sunday roasts works brilliantly, because then during the week you can turn it into bubble and squeak. The boys love doing that. And the same with leftover veg. If you've got any leftover veggies, before you throw them out at the end of the week, chuck them in the bag, have a little bag in the freezer and throw them in the bag and add to them. And then when you've got enough, you can defrost and blitz them down and turn them into soups or pasta sauces. And the same with leftover meat as well. So like this weekend we cooked roast turkey legs, and we had some turkey left over. So on Monday we turned it into a turkey pasta for dinner, and it just makes food go that little bit further. Use what's in your cupboards, because it's so tempting to just go shopping and buy things without checking what you have got in your cupboard first, but guaranteed there are things in there that you can use to cook up your meals. So always have a look in your cupboards first. Saving money wise, think about cooking a whole chicken instead of just buying chicken breasts and doing it that way, because it makes multiple dishes. You can make all kinds of meals with it, and soups and pies and pastas and all sorts of things. But it goes a lot further and is a lot cheaper than if you were just to buy the chicken breasts. Opt for the cheaper cuts of meat too as well. Things like pork shoulder will go an awfully long way, but it's relatively cheap compared to some of the other meats. Buy frozen instead of fresh, so things like frozen spinach, and you will get a lot more for your money than you would if you were to buy fresh spinach and use it. So things like that work really well, buying frozen instead of fresh. And it's the same with buying frozen chicken breasts and frozen fish as well. There's no harm in doing that when you're busy family trying to cook up your meals, and it just saves time and money, because you can have it stashed away in the freezer at the beginning of the month and you just take it out and defrost it as you need it. Buy your veg in bulk, chop and freeze it as well, because that not only saves you time and money, but it is so much easier and it's cheaper too. That I'll buy a big batch of peppers and onions, and I'll slice and dice them, and I'll put them in the freezer, and then I'll just pull out a handful each time I need them, and it just stops that food from being wasted in the fridge. And then the other thing that we love to do as a family is at the end of the month, the last week of the month, each month, we will use it as a bit of a challenge to do a kind of Chopped. I don't know if you've seen the American US TV show Chopped, and the contestants are given a box of 4 or 5 ingredients and told to knock up something for dinner with it, with whatever's in the pantry. And so that's what we try and do at the end of the month, is we will do a Chopped each night, and we will look in the pantry and into the cupboards in the freezer and in the fridge and see what's in there and say, right, what have we got? What can we use up before we go shopping again and restock? And we will use that week to just use some things up, and it really helps. And occasionally we have some slightly wacky meals, and we might come up with something different that we would never have thought of having before. But it can be quite good fun. So that's a great way of using things up and just saving a bit of money. So picky eaters then, hands up if you have got a picky eater at home. Stick a hands up in the comments and let me know. And yeah, because we've all had the picky eaters. They've all had stages where they want to eat and they don't want to eat. And I was fortunate with Harrison because he wasn't really a massively picky eater. And he's still and he's really good with his food now, and he's great with it. But Oscar, our eldest, when he was younger, he did have moments where he was a little bit pickier, and we had to be very careful and clever about how we would do things to try and encourage him to eat. So these, I'm sure there are plenty of other ideas of ways to get your picky eaters to eat, but these are the things that helped us. And these are the things that sometimes we still try if Harrison is having a moment of not being sure about what he wants to eat. And so adding new dishes one at a time and asking them for ideas of what to cook can really help as well, so that you're not overwhelming them when you're introducing them to something new. Having backup meal ideas to hand and having a few of them frozen, like I've talked about before, of having some things frozen in the freezer already done. Substitute where possible, so you don't have to make extra meals as well. So chopping and changing them so that if you know that they don't like a certain meat, then maybe do a chicken breast for them on the side and separate the food out if they don't like it mixed together, so that you can still do it for the rest of the family. Often doing it kind of deli style, putting it in the middle of the table for others so that they can help themselves, can really help. Pureeing and hiding the veg into sauces for pastas. Cutting the food into fun shapes using cookie cutters. I've done that before with Harrison. He's got a really funky little one that turns them into dinosaurs, and he loved that. And then the other one is limiting snacks before dinner as well. So if they've not had a snack when they've got in from school or play school, they're more likely to be hungry, and with any luck they'll actually eat their dinner and have a go at trying a few things. And then lastly, to save time, batch cook and freeze with planning ahead can really help with busy seasons of life. And we've done that several times. If we're going away and Oscar is staying at home alone because he's old enough to do that now, then I'll batch cook some meals and freeze them for him so that he's got them in portions for when he gets in from work. And it's also a great way when when I had Harrison and those first few months after giving birth, of knowing that those meals were in the freezer and I could just take them out, defrost them, reheat them, it made life so much easier. Okay, and then using your slow cooker for prepping as well as cooking can really help too. Cooking, so you could cook a whole chicken in your slow cooker while you go to work for the day. And when you get home, that chicken is ready, and you could use it for dinner, but you could also then use it to separate out and make all kinds of other things with them as well. Cooking quick dinners, so don't be afraid during the week especially, and I love to cook from scratch as much as I can, but I am not ashamed of using the jars of pasta sauces where needs be and the microwave rice where I need to as well, because that just makes it so much easier. And because, let's be honest, we don't always have time to do all of that from scratch, so just don't be afraid of cheating where you can. And prep what you can the night before as well. So if you can prep veggies the night before, or if it means taking something out of the freezer the night before, then do that too. Ordering groceries online. I used to do this when I first moved about 4 or 5 years ago, and we haven't got back into it again yet, and it made such a difference, and it's something that I know that I need to get back into again. But I have a few friends who order their groceries online and they swear by it because it does make life less stressful. You're not having to take your kids around the store, and you can just wait for it to arrive and unpack it, and it's job done. And then lastly, use meal planning sites to help you. So if you want some ideas of quick and easy meals to make, there's a couple of sites there to check out. livingwellspendingless.com has got some brilliant meals on there for dinners for under 15 minutes, and meals with 5 ingredients or less, and all those kind of things. And the Family Freezer, if you're into the freezer cooking, that's a great site to check out too. So lastly then, so just quick recap, how I get dinner on the table, my 5-step process. Step 1 is to create that list of go-to meals. Step 2 is to be clever about how you stock your freezer, and step 3, how you stock your pantry with staples. Step 4 is plan your meals according to what's happening that week, and step 5 is make a note of what you eat each night. And so getting started, making the meal planning work for you, is give yourself time, because it will take time the first few weeks to get into a routine, but don't give up, because it is worth it, I promise. And the more you do it, the quicker you will get. So use what you have in your cupboards first before you start stocking your pantry with staples and things. So just go through and use what you can on your staples first. And then give each night, use your go-to list meals and give each night a theme. Do what makes life easier, and set aside time before you shop so that you plan your meals out in advance. And then lastly, don't forget to download my printables, because they are really, really going to help you. They are tried and tested by me. I use them all the time, and they make life so much easier and really make it easy for minimal stress and fast for getting dinner on the table. So head over to simplycontentedlife.com/meal planning masterclass. Okay, so that is it. That is my meal planning deep dive for you for January. I hope it has helped, and I hope that there is something in there for you that you can take away tonight that is going to help you to make meal planning less stressful and more enjoyable. Let me know in the comments what your biggest takeaway was, and if you've got any questions, pop them in. Facebook's not coming up with any at the moment, so I will keep an eye and see, and if you do pop something in there, I will come back and answer it for you later. But let me know what your biggest takeaway was, and hopefully this has really, really helped you, because over the years, these are the things that I've tried and tested through trial and error and have really, really helped me to nail and get back on track with my meal planning, and I hope that that really has helped for you. And so next month for the deep dive, we are going to be doing we're going to be looking at budgeting and talking all about how to track your finances, how to have confidence in your bank account instead of praying and hoping for the best when you tap your card, and ways that you can track your spending and keep on track and start saving as well if you're not already. So a few tips on how to do that as well. So yeah, so hopefully tonight